Ben Downing, a Democrat in the race for governor, is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. Since 1991, only one Democrat has held the state's top political office. Can a former state senator from the Berkshires make that climb? Ben Downing is here. It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
And welcome to OTR for this Sunday morning. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. Massachusetts does continue to make progress in its COVID-19 vaccination program. And here in Studio C, we continue to follow social distancing protocols. As you can see, we're making sure to put plenty of space between all of us. And at the center desk this morning is Ben Downing. From 2007 to 2017, he served in the state Senate representing the Berkshires in Western Mass. He's just 24 years old when he began his first term. Born in Pittsfield, he has a BA from Providence College and a master's from Tufts. Great to have you with us, sir. And the green tie is very seasonally appropriate. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me, Ed. It's great to be here.
So we'll start with the subject that everyone's talking about, of course, is Governor Baker is opening vaccine appointments to anyone over 16 years old in Massachusetts in about a month. Should he have delayed special access to certain groups in order to move everyone up a little bit sooner?
No, I don't think so. I think the governor was right in the rollout here, but I think the frustrating thing with the vaccine rollout, right, was that we scrapped the crisis response plan that Massachusetts had been preparing for the better part of 2 decades. We've had a fragmented response to this pandemic, leaving 351 cities and towns to muddle through on their own. What we should have had was a simplified pre-registration set up from the beginning that would have allowed us to prioritize equity, that would have allowed us to partner with local boards of health, would have led to partnering with community-based organizations to get to the communities that have been hardest hit by this pandemic. Those with the highest infection rates that unfortunately have been left behind in the vaccine rollout again. What we've ended up with is a vaccine rollout that is added to confusion, added to anxiety, built on inequities and disparities that we already see in our communities. We could have done far better. And the most frustrating thing about this is that we have the talent in our communities. It's a company from Burlington that's helping other states with their rollouts. It's a mother on maternity leave developing a better website than our own state IT is able to develop. The frustrating thing is it didn't have to be this way. We had the space and the time to plan for it. We didn't have the leadership that tapped into the potential in our communities.
The vaccine is important. Don't mistake in my question when I say this, but it was only one part of dealing with the pandemic, and Baker was getting good reviews from most of the voters before the vaccine rollout. Do you agree with that part of it?
No, I don't think so. You know, I think where we struggled, and we've seen it here on the vaccine rollout, but we saw it in testing as well, is that hard-hit communities like Chelsea and Lawrence, many of the other gateway cities, those with the highest infection rates had trouble getting access to testing on the front end. They had trouble getting access to the resources that they need to be able to respond to the pandemic. And more importantly, these communities were left behind before the pandemic came. They were left exposed to all of the troubles that came from the pandemic because we have not acted with urgency to meet the moment and to make the investments in those communities that would have made them fairer or stronger before this came.
Just to be clear, when you say we, you mean the governor?
I mean all leadership on Beacon Hill. Yes, it starts with the governor, but everyone in leadership on Beacon Hill.
So let's talk about this, and I want to put this on the screen. You tweeted this week, state police officers should not be allowed to work if they refuse to get the COVID vaccine. No vaccine, no job. So the question I have for you is, would you apply this policy to all law enforcement, all firefighters, all first responders? Would you fire anyone who refuses to be vaccinated?
So first, the decisions would have to be made at the proper jurisdiction, right? So local leaders make those local decisions. I think there is a reason that we put first responders and frontline workers first, because we want people to be able to pick up the phone and call those who serve them when they need them. The last thing you should be thinking about when your car breaks down on the side of the road is, if I call the state police, am I going to be threatening my own health? The frustrating thing, and a lot of the discussion around this was, we don't know the reasons why up to 30% of FTEs at the state police were not taking their vaccinations. And in the articles, it seemed like there was a shoulder shrug around whether or not it even mattered that we figured out why.
So would you fire state troopers?
Yeah.
If they refuse to take
it should be a condition of employment, but that shouldn't be the first step. We should be stepping in to figure out why they haven't gotten it, make sure they get it. We don't know right now how many of those who didn't get it at the barracks got it somewhere else. We don't have that information. We need to have that information. It was right to prioritize them, but it's also right to insist on making sure that they have the vaccination.
Okay, so to be clear, it should be on the list of reasons for dismissal, right?
Yes.
Maybe you wouldn't put it at number one, but you'd put it there.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk about your plans post-pandemic. Do you think employers, including the state, should keep most workers working virtually, at least part-time?
I think we need to give flexibility to employers to meet them where they are. It depends on the type of work. It depends on the status of that company's economic health, right? So I think the state needs to create the flexible conditions, and quite frankly, this is where the state can lead, right? By providing support to those businesses as they grow so that they can make decisions with the best interest of the public health in mind.
But what
I
about
don't think there's a one-size-fits-all for every company. There's not a one-size-fits-all for every community.
But if you're the governor, you make a decision about state workers. Would you allow state workers that can function at home, keep them at home
Yes.
after this pandemic is over?
Yes.
Well, this would, of course, make a huge shift in the real estate in the state because the state rents a lot of space for the workers. You're willing to shut that down?
Yes, I think we need to reflect the fact, right, that we are in a different world than we were before the pandemic came. Technology has enabled us to operate in different ways, but I also think that we shouldn't jump and think that it's going to be a massive shift at this point. I know, and I can only speak for myself, but based on the conversations I've had with folks across the state, people are excited to be back with their colleagues, with their neighbors, whether it's at work, at a cookout, any number of different places. That's why we need to make sure to continue to social distance, to wear masks, to improve the vaccine rollout, so that we have all of these options together. We shouldn't yet be making decisions around it based on behavior that we don't yet know what it will look like.
This is 2021. The governor's election that doesn't pop up until 2022. So it is still early. But should more Democrats enter the race already?
You know, I don't know. Everyone's going to make their own decision on when they want to get into this race or not. I know I am thoroughly enjoying being in the race, being out there, meeting voters where they're at in communities from Pittsfield to East Boston and everywhere in between. I expect that we're going to have a big, loud, messy primary. And quite frankly, I think that's a healthy thing. We ought to put before the voters the ideas that are out there. Let them choose who's the best candidate to lead the party, the best candidate to build a fairer, stronger Massachusetts. I think that's me, but it's on me to go out there and make the case now.
And look at the mayor's race for Boston, how diverse that field is. So do you encourage women and people of color to join you and run for the state's top job?
Absolutely. There are plenty of talented people who ought to get into this race, just like we've seen in Boston. Again, that is a better thing for all of us. The more people involved in the process brings new voices, engages new voters, makes us stronger as a Commonwealth as a whole.
Federal dollars have helped many businesses and government through this pandemic, and it's prevented many of them from going under. But the state still dipped into the rainy day account. Do you think it's time for a statewide tax hike? And if you do, which one is best?
So I think the state was right to dip into the rainy day account, right? We know that's what it was established for, to avoid deeper cuts to the budget overall. I do think it's time for the wealthy to pay more in taxes. I do think we need comprehensive tax reform to make the investments that will make us a fairer, stronger Massachusetts, that will allow us to address economic fairness and racial justice. I think you do that by making sure that the wealthy pay more in their taxes so you can invest in universal child care, in transportation, public higher education, and housing.
What is
wealthy?
your definition?
Yeah.
Right, that's exactly right. And what is your definition of what is wealthy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you look at some of the proposals like Governor Patrick made in 2014, where we would ask more of those, at the very least, who make more than $500,000, certainly those who make more than $250,000 as well.
You know, on the federal level, President Biden is talking about the level of $400,000. So you're in the same ballpark as we're hearing from that, right?
Yeah, but I think it would depend on the overall proposal. So I think certainly all of those merit discussion. But the important thing, right, is to recognize that taxes right now in Massachusetts put an undue burden on the poor and the working poor and the middle class. We need to make those investments to help reduce poverty, to address racial justice. We can ask more of the wealthy who have benefited from economic growth, even in this downturn.
So you're talking about a larger percentage after a certain cutoff point? Is that what you're talking about?